Mr. Scott was served with a pre-action protocol, meaning a letter before action issued out of the office of the Attorney General, in which demand was made for full payment of the said sum within 90 days. And Mr. Scott is to respond to the office of the Attorney General within 7 days to indicate his agreement to repay the full sum in 90 days. Failing which, i.e., if we do not get a response from Mr. Scott in 7 days indicating his agreement to repay the full sum, legal proceedings will be commenced against him. Mr. Scott left the service of government on June 30th, 2016, and according to reports at the time, he was to be fully employed with the New National Party. Contrary to the conditions of receiving the phone, when he demitted office, Mr. Scott retained the phone and continued to use it, and it remained one of the devices in relation to which the government of Grenada was billed. This fact came to light in July 2019, and of course there was great public dismay and discontent on receiving this news. In response, Mr. Scott, on July 22nd, 2019, on a nationally broadcast radio program, assured the nation that he would not do anything that would end up costing the Grenadian taxpayers a single cent. The fact is, at the time when Mr. Scott uttered those words, he had already done something that had in fact cost the Grenadian taxpayer more than a single cent. Following his utterances on national radio, he sent a letter to the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance at the time, Ms. Patricia Clark. Said letter was dated on or about 19 July 2019, and in that letter, Mr. Scott accepted, and I quote, full liability and responsibility for all charges incurred on said account Digicel number 534-5113 from July 2016 to the present date, that date being on or about 19 July 2019. He also, excuse me, in the said letter, gave the assurance that he had discontinued use of the phone and had invited the ministry to work out with him an amicable formula for repayment or payment of any sums paid or owed on the said account, so that he can reimburse the state. By then, the amount that had been paid by the government of Grenada on the said account for Mr. Sheldon Scott between 2016 and 2019, that's July 2016 and July 2019, was $115,393.33. The records at all relevant ministries show that no payment has been made to date, despite the undertaking given by Mr. Scott to repay. And as such, to date, the balance of $115,393.32 remains outstanding, together with accumulated interest of $41,544.30 for a total of $156,937.62. Yesterday, Mr. Scott was served with a pre-action protocol, meaning a letter before action issued out of the office of the Attorney General, in which demand was made for full payment of the said sum within 90 days. And Mr. Scott is to respond to the Office of the Attorney General within 7 days to indicate his agreement to repay the full sum in 90 days. Failing which, i.e., if we do not get a response from Mr. Scott in 7 days indicating his agreement to repay the full sum, legal proceedings will be commenced against him. I must also share at this time that these matters of public interest, they warrant proper and thorough investigation, which cannot be done overnight. Hence the period we took to ensure that we had investigated all aspects of this matter and decided to issue Mr. Scott with pre-action protocol. Based on the information uncovered during the course of the investigation, which was led by the Financial Intelligence Unit, the report and all information gathered was also submitted by the Office of the Attorney General to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, so that the DPP might advise on what, if any, criminal proceedings might be brought against Mr. Scott.